Folks, I have got a great video clip here for you on Devoted Patriots 2 channel. I'm talking about Benny Johnson, one of my favorites, destroying this lefty named Destiny on the Piers Morgan show. Matter of fact, it was Piers Morgan and two lefties and Benny Johnson all on the same show. So kind of it was 3-on-1 pretty much. But Piers Morgan did stand up for Trump with a few statements he made. But more than that, Benny Johnson is not having what this guy is saying. This lefty is lunatic, Democrat, commentator, has a podcast channel. Will never catch me there. But at any rate, this was glorious because Benny Johnson let him have it. Nothing but good stuff here, folks. Me and my wife, like I said, we're giggling behind this shit. Stick around, folks. It's a little bit long, but you will not be disappointed, I guarantee you. Here we go.
I mean, okay, let's start with Destiny. I got to say, when I saw that, I just thought, really? Isn't this liberals falling into the old trap of over-demonizing Trump to the extent that actually it just helps him?
I think that there is an issue when it comes to covering Trump because it feels like there is an over-demonization of Trump, but also Trump is kind of a demon. Like, I think that it's funny because people will look at the left and they'll say that, you know, people are harping too much on Trump's rhetoric or how mean he is towards people on Twitter. But then when you talk to conservatives, it seems like Trump's Twitter behavior is their number one selling point for why they like him so much. Like, yeah, I don't know what he does with policy. I don't know what he does with legislation. But, you know, he's got a lot of really good zingers. Like, this is a guy who's known for giving mean nicknames to his debate stage opponents. I don't think it's that crazy to say that Trump has some of the most divisive rhetoric and is one of the meanest people that we've seen as like a world leader on the world stage, at least insofar as like rhetoric and how he addresses people goes.
Yeah, but I always say, you see,
What about Biden? Biden's not very nice.
About this, there's a lot of hypocrisy about this based around Trump's rhetoric compared to his actions. For example, you know, with Barack Obama, who obviously didn't tweet incendiary things about people, and was the epitome of kind of civilized presidential public office behavior. But he still deported over 3 million people. He still ran a terrible drone program. He still dropped more bombs in 1 year than any president in modern history. He kept Guantanamo Bay open despite campaigning to shut it, etc. He's the angel, Trump's the devil, and I don't think either's particularly accurate.
I don't think I would say that Obama is an angel, but I mean, there's a separate discussion between like, besides the character of a person and the actual policy positions or things they did in office. I think Trump would lose on both counts, but I mean, separate from policy or, you know, effectuality or ineffectuality as a leader, I think that it's pretty undeniable that Trump is kind of a mean-spirited guy. And then when you look at how he runs his campaign, when you look at how he runs the country, he's a very self-driven person. Like every single thing that he does is just ultimately to serve his needs or his ends at the end of the day. Whether that means throwing political opponents under the bus, whether that means throwing political allies under the bus, whether that means not helping, you know, Georgia's Senate elections because he's so angry that Raffensperger, you know, wouldn't turn over enough votes for him, and now Georgia has 2 blue senators. Like, I don't know, just Trump is a really mean dude. And again, yeah, you can switch over and you can look at the foreign policy position too. But I mean, you can talk about Obama's follies, but Trump also abandoned our Kurdish allies in Syria to Turkey. Trump also, you know, inflamed tensions in the Middle East when he recognized, you know, the Jerusalem, moving the embassy over to Jerusalem and the United States' recognition of Israel annexing East Jerusalem and everything. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think Trump wins on any count where he would come off as a nice guy.
Okay, I mean, Benny Johnson, does it matter?
Now, folks, can go ahead and let you know it's fixing to get spicy.
Whether Trump's a nice guy or not, I think people have baked in now what he is. He's a shoot from the hip, you know, guy that loves to talk. He's pretty narcissistic. Okay. He's pretty bombastic. He's pretty pugilistic. If you read his book, The Art of the Deal, he says if somebody punches me, metaphorically or real, I'll punch them 10 times back. There's nothing new about any of Trump's behavior if you have studied his behavior for the last 40, 50 years. He just happens to be a guy who won the White House and right now is actually looking like he's favorite to win it back. So for all the rhetorical issues around Trump and the supposed meanness, there are tens of millions of Americans who are queuing up to vote for him.
Yeah, so let's talk about tens of millions. I particularly take quite a bit of umbrage with the description of Donald Trump as demonic. I think that is quite shocking as a Christian myself to call somebody demonic like Donald Trump, who's actually against the 10 million people who have been human smuggled into this country, many of them children. I remember a time not too long ago when people cared about, the left cared about children in cages. Yet now they're calling Donald Trump demonic. He wants to stop these human smuggling by the cartels. Have you ever been down to the border, Destiny? Have you seen the rape trees? Have you seen the little children's toys that are left down there from the human smuggling that is created by Joe Biden, the biggest human smuggler in human history? Do you know the carnage and the horror that is being created by those policies? Let's not even talk about how what Joe Biden has done to the world stage. Donald Trump brought world peace. You're going to talk about Kurds and wars? How about Ukraine? Joe Biden could have stopped that war before it even started. Joe Biden continues that war and continues the funding of that war that is leading to the wholesale slaughter of an entire region. Joe Biden could stop it right now. Joe Biden has brought war around the world. And then let's talk about the fentanyl poisoning America. You want to talk about cruelty? It took Joe Biden 400 days to go to East Palestine in Ohio, a city that was poisoned by our federal government in a chemical explosion. Much less the chemical explosion that is happening all throughout America with fentanyl slaughtering 100,000 Americans. And the final thing I'll say here, how dare you call Donald Trump demonic when Joe Biden hasn't even said Laken Riley's name correctly, called her Lincoln Riley when he was forced to. This woman was slaughtered by a criminal alien who was in this country illegally, who was released by Democrats and went on to slaughter a nursing student in Georgia with his bare hands. And Joe Biden apologized to the murderer. How dare you say, that Donald Trump's demonic? Can you defend any of that behavior? Final thing I'll say here is Joe Biden wouldn't acknowledge his own grandchild. Even the New York Times said that is a sick, evil behavior. So if you're looking for demonic behavior, my friend, I got it for you. It's sitting in the White House in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in a diaper right now during nap time.
Wow. Okay, that's what I call a rebuttal. Let's come to Dave Smith. But before we do, let's play that clip that Benny referenced. This is when Joe Biden, in the State of the Union address, did not pronounce Laken Riley's name properly.
It's not about him. It's not about me. I'd be a winner. Not really. Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right.
Now, Dave, the issue for Biden.
If I may.
Sorry, Benny?
If I may, just since I brought up the clip, if you don't mind, Piers.
Sure.
Could I ask Destiny right now, would you like to apologize to Laken Riley's family for her murder, since it's open border Democrat policies that you promote on your program? Would you like to apologize to the parents of Laken Riley for the murder of her child?
The virtue signaling is off the charts. I didn't kill anybody, so I'm not going to apologize to anybody for somebody getting killed.
But there are
unfortunately, there are a lot of people that get killed in the United States for a large variety of reasons. If anybody gets killed, especially based on the background of this guy, this guy definitely should have been deported. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. But hey, listen, if you want the border stuff to be cleared up so much, why don't you tell Republicans to stop turning into a game in the White House or in Congress and actually approve legislation to get more funding down for the border?
Okay.
Right now, it's Republicans who pulled the plug on that because Trump wants to maintain the one little bit of electoral advantage he might have, which is you guys trying to stir stuff up over the border. And it's funny also how you frame this all like, oh, they're trying to stop human smuggling. No, they're not. They're just trying to secure the border. Humans are going to be smuggled all over the place, regardless of whether it's into America or not. It's not like Trump actually cares about
Destiny,
human smuggling.
Destiny, what I would say about that is, whether you're on the left or right in America, nobody can dispute that the southern border is in complete and utter turmoil. And I'm afraid if you're the President of the United States and you've been there for 3 years, it's on you. Right? He's done nothing to stop it. In fact, he's made it a lot worse. Dave Smith, you've been very patiently waiting. Get stuck in.
This is the most patient I've ever been in my life.
I know. I appreciate it. But get stuck in now.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I think probably Destiny, even you could admit that it just shows such a tremendous disconnect and a contempt for the voters and this weird woke progressive value that after getting her name wrong, he apologizes in his next interview for calling the guy an illegal and says he should have said undocumented, but doesn't say, hey, like, can you at least grant that apologizing for calling an insensitive name to the murderer and not apologizing for getting the actual name of the murder victim correct it's like, are you trying to throw the election? It's almost as if like these woke progressive values have taken people to a point where they can't even do what's in their own political interest, because you would just think that the vast majority of voters would be like, well, clearly you owe an apology to one of these people, and it's not the murderer.
Dave, what do you think is going to happen in November?
Well, I mean, this is a really tough election to predict. I mean, I'll tell you, I think that the three-letter organizations that really run the United States of America and have much more power than the elected representatives, I think they have pretty clearly signaled that Donald Trump returning to the White House is unacceptable to them, and they are going to use whatever means necessary to not let that happen. And in that case, like, if you're betting against the CIA, you may not win. If there is a democratic process and Trump is not removed, as of right now, I think there's absolutely no question that Donald Trump gets elected. Look, if you look at any of the polling, the major two issues are the economy and immigration. And Trump is where the American people are much more than Joe Biden is. He can try to spin it now and say, oh, well, we're trying to do border security, but the Republicans aren't playing ball. But you just can't ignore the last, since 2016, Trump was demonized viciously by every single progressive for talking about building a wall, talking about having border security. To try to turn it around now and be like, no, I'm really the border hawk and the open border is Donald Trump's fault, is just not going to sell. Their message on the economy is essentially, the economy is really good. You're just too stupid to realize how good it is. And also, I think Donald Trump, at least rhetorically, with foreign policy, is much closer to where the American people are right now, which is after 20 plus years of terror wars, every last one of them an absolute disaster. The funding the war in Ukraine, everything they said was going to happen has not happened. And I think that the kind of non-interventionist, America first, again, at least rhetorically, there's a lot of things Trump did on foreign policy that I don't support, but I think he's certainly much closer to where the American people are than Joe Biden on all of the biggest issues.
Destiny.
And that's and by the way, I would just add that is what is appealing to Trump supporters. And I'm not a Trump supporter, but that's what's appealing to Donald Trump supporters, not the fact that he sends mean tweets. And you can talk to any Trump supporter.
What's really fascinating to me are two recent polls, Destiny, which I think should send a shiver down the spine of all Democrats, which is a poll.
This here is a great measure, a marker for the direction the country's going with these statistics he throws out here. We'll go ahead and end the video after that, but listen to these stats, folks, and tell me what you think in the comment section down below. Did this lefty get torched?
Poll from March 3rd, Donald Trump's support among black voters has grown by 500% over the last 4 years, according to the New York Times. His support among black voters is now 23%, marking a 19% increase since October 2020. And a poll from the Arab American Institute from the end of 2023 showed support among Arab American voters for Biden has plummeted by nearly 60% in 2020 to 17% today. I mean, those two things are quite extraordinary when his main opponent is somebody that the Democrats love to demonize, quite literally. You use that word yourself, but they demonize him constantly as the worst racist in America. Why is it that those two things are happening?
For people voting from the Middle East or of Arab descent or whatever, right now they're probably going to be heavily influenced by stuff going on in Israel, Palestine, obviously. But I think that Americans' memory when it comes to foreign policy tends to be pretty short. So we'll have to see where Israel, Palestine is at in 6 months to see how much that's on the forefront of people's minds. But again, for any person that's not supporting Biden because they think he's being too harsh on Gaza, it's not like Trump would be any better. Again, Trump is a staunchly pro-Israel supporter. Trump was the one who recognized the moving of that embassy. The idea that Donald Trump is going to try to rein in the leash on Israel more than Biden has is ridiculous. As for minority votes for Trump, again, it's hard to say. Everything is so up in the air. There were just some polls that came out recently that show that there was almost like a 10-point swing in how people are viewing Biden's senility just after the State of the Union, where Democrats and independent voters now have a much more favorable view of Biden after the State of the Union in regards to his senility. And I also
did y'all catch that, folks? after the State of the Union address, there was a poll out that said some of Biden's voters, up to 10%, are now more in favor of him with his senility. Let me back that up, folks. Let's play that part again. So he's defending Biden's senility in the polls. Makes Biden a good guy, right?
There were just some polls that came out recently that showed that there was almost like a 10-point swing in how people are viewing Biden's senility just after the State of the Union, where Democrats and independent voters now have a much more favorable view of Biden after the State of the Union in regards to his senility. And I also saw that the AP posted something today showing that a majority of American voters think that both Biden and Trump are too old and senile to be in office. So I think that we're going to...
His selling point is Biden has got 10% of his voters in one particular poll not questioning his senility as much. Come on, dude. You just admitted he's crazy, and you're still going to vote for this guy. You're definitely, obviously, drinking the lefty Kool-Aid. That's all I got for you, folks. Full video over on Benny Johnson or on Pierce Morgan's channel. Your choice. But it's about 40 minutes long, but it's great. Nothing but good stuff here, folks. I love it. Everybody have a great day. Just thought I'd bring you a little bit of a barn burner from Benny Johnson.